Well, hello there. How are you, beautiful, beautiful people, on this fantastic Tuesday morning? Just want to do some housekeeping to start with. And that is to explain, look, I am not a lawyer. I know that me and the guy over at Lawyer You Know are very, very similar in the way we look. We're both beautiful people, but he is the professional. I'm not. So when I talk about some things, I put it kind of in layman's terms. In terms and use words that even I will understand, because I'm stupid. Not saying you're stupid, I'm stupid. I have to make it make sense to me. And if it makes sense to me, it's more than likely going to make sense to you. But anyway, I know what you're saying. Get on with it. Crack on. Let's have some meat and potatoes. So that's what we're going to do. Because we're going to talk about something. And look, there is a link in the description of this video which will take you back over to my sister from another mister, Jules. And she's talking specifically about Dawn Daniels, this genealogical DNA headache that is going to be the rot that destroys this case. Okay? Now, I have spoken on the fact that this knife sheath, like I've said multiple times, this knife sheath is being removed. They're not. And look, what I mean, I don't mean the actual physical knife sheath itself as being not used, but the large proportion of what that knife sheath represented in the chain of custody is being removed from the situation. And it's seemingly being done because the way in which that happened seems to be a problem when it comes to the chain of custody. And why is the chain of custody important? The chain of custody is important because it shows a documentation timeline, if you like, that puts down in chronological order how everything came about, how we got from having no person, no evidence, no nothing, we just had the crime scene, to being in court today with this person who we believe is the man. And they have to show the entire timeline of events and how they got there. And this is what I do. I will challenge you now. And this, a challenge to Mr. Tragus himself. With what is out there in public domain, with regards to the court documentation, what you can see, what we can see, what would you say is the chain of custody for the Bryan Kohberger case? And what I mean by that, it would seem to me, an idiot, that they already had Bryan Kohberger in their sights before they'd got him by DNA. So what I'm struggling with is to find out how they got to Bryan Kohberger in the first place, because that to me isn't very clear. And when you've got Bryan Kohberger himself who's turning around and saying he's eager to get exonerated, I wonder whether he is eager to, or knows he's going to get exonerated, because he knows that even if he did the crime, and this is important, even if he did the crime, he knows he didn't screw up. Is Bryan Kohberger is he the person who did this all along, which many people think he is, but is he a lot smarter than most of us have given him credit for, to the point where he knows he didn't slip up? He knows he didn't put that knife sheath there, or he knows he didn't leave DNA anywhere. So he's challenging the chain of custody because he knows that something is wrong in there. And as I said, this video that Jules does, it literally questions whether the information surrounding that is exculpatory, and almost as if to say, look, if you think it is, just fucking ignore it. Do you know what I mean? Let's breeze over that. This case has got some big problems. Let's not forget, this is potentially, and we will learn any day now, a death sentence case. This guy could be put to death for this crime. So every single damn I and every single damn T needs to be crossed. And if something is not sitting right, if something is out of place, if something was done what it shouldn't have been done in a way that it shouldn't have been done, then Bryan Kohberger is going to jump all over this. His defence team are going to jump all over it. And when you see things like this happening, and when you look at a situation and you think, look, if a crime has been committed and then you have somebody brought into custody, it's usually very clear how that happens. You can basically form your own chain of custody. Now, there is another reference in law, and that is regarding the fruit of the poisonous tree. And this is something else that Jules comments on. And this is going to be the big problem. And I believe that is why they are looking to remove the genealogy, the DNA, how they got the profile from there. I believe that they fear that there is an issue with that. There's an issue with it. They cannot use it, because if they use it, that then becomes the sole reason that Bryan Kohberger is in that courtroom. And to me, that's what it looks like. That's what we've always been led to believe, and what many people you see in comments saying. The only thing that ties him to this crime is the knife sheath. The issue is how they tied him to the knife sheath. And if they can't use what tied him to the knife sheath, then they have to find some other way of tying him to the crime scene. Because if they use something that there's a problem with, and that becomes fruit of the poisonous tree, then it can't be used. Nothing can be used. Anything connected to that knife sheath and that situation cannot be used. So that is, I believe, why they are searching and they are hunting high and low for Snapchat, for social media situations, something that broke out within there. That's what I think they're doing. I think they're struggling. I know I touched on this yesterday, but more than ever, I feel that they have now got a situation where it's almost like they were pushed, they were pressured. I wonder whether someone tipped them off about Bryan Kohberger. I wonder whether they had an informant, they tipped them off, gave them Kohberger's name, they then set the sights on Bryan Kohberger, they couldn't tie him to the crime scene, so they fabricated a way to... And look, this is just my opinion based on what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing, to me, if you look at it, the only thing that I believe makes sense in terms of Bryan Kohberger being connected to this case is that someone gave them his name. That's what I think. I think someone gave them Bryan Kohberger's name and they needed to make him fit. And they needed it. They wanted this sorted as quickly as possible. That's what I think. And again, I could be completely wrong, and I'm sure some people will tell me I'm completely wrong. And look, I will just say Justin as well, he's back on the scene. Crazy Justin. Is Justin crazy? Is Justin crazy? Look at this comment. Tell me whether you think Justin's crazy. Because, look, this is what we're trying to say. It's almost like you've got to... Like, I'm not saying that every single thing that's ever come out of Justin's mouth is fact. I certainly am not going down that route. But with regards to this case and how they pinned Bryan Kohberger to this murder, please tell me. Please tell me. Someone as brainy and beautiful as Tragus. Tell me what the actual... chain of custody was in this. How did they find Bryan Kohberger and pin him to these murders? Because to me, they already had him pinned before the DNA. So what, without there being someone who physically put them on him, how? I look forward to hearing it. I'll catch you all in the next one.